You're right. That movie was much better than this.
But, okay, at the rate you're going, you're going to hit the fire extinguisher in about 3 days.
Yep.
Where are you?
Where are you, Ben?
He's in the rocks. He's the rocks.
Barney, you're not the rubble I was looking for.
This program was under your supervision, was it not?
And you
Define supervision.
also you let teenagers create a teleporter.
All I want to know is where are my
Well,
children.
who would expect something to go wrong with that, honey?
I need to know if they're alive.
Yes.
She's unconscious. Somehow she's shifting in and out of the visible spectrum.
Okay, no. No.
Hey, Johnny?
Yeah, he can't see if his eyeballs are fire.
Looks like we have some activity.
He might. You've never had fire eyeballs?
Okay.
Reed, what happened to me? I don't know.
Bad special
We're gonna figure this
effects.
out. Ben! Please, help me, Reed!
You want to find a cure? We have resources here, the best in the world.
You don't even know what happened to
We're
him.
analyzing what happened to you. Whatever it is, we can find a way to reverse
He mispronounced analyze.
it. I can help you, Ben.
This is
But you
no
need to
time and
help
place
us.
to be talking about extracurricular activities. Do you think when he drools, it's sand?
Although, to be fair, Ben is trying to get his rocks off, so... no, I don't know. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm trying to thought.
I mean, they worked really hard on this, but it didn't look like that 5 minutes ago.
No.
Oh,
His combat effectiveness this past year has been unprecedented.
really?
In terms of potential, you already know what he's accomplished in the field.
I am not going to be a tool. Johnny.
Not like you. Not like you, Johnny. You tool.
Johnny's your brother. It's never been as easy for him as it has for you.
Well, Johnny claims
Like
to be the
it or
king of
not, he's
Wakanda,
family.
so...
Yeah. Well, for a minute
Family
anyway.
means we take care of each other.
Did they not put subtitles on this? Yeah, I get it that they're haggling, but still, really.
Gracias.
I mean, like every other movie on the planet, if somebody's speaking another language, they at least put a little bit of a translation. I guess they couldn't afford it.
That was some great special effects right there.
I know, stellar. I mean, darn it, they tried. Just see them whipping the special effects artists in the
Just
background.
the fact that he's still wearing that suit a year later makes me think he smells really badly.
That too. But, you know, they're like, just make it work. We don't have the programs. We don't have the time. We don't have the resource. Just make it work. All right. You're not going to be happy with it.
Captain Nemo, really?
Apparently.
Captain Nemo.
So she didn't need to
That's
search any
him.
patterns.
He's routing his emails through this relay.
Got him.
You did what you had to do.
No, we'll kill him.
So,
Where are your
this is
pants?
where you've been hiding out.
Wait.
Wait,
Stop.
can
Let
we
me
can we
explain.
put pants on him?
Why?
I'm no good to you, to anyone. This is all my fault.
That we can agree on.
But also, why can't we put him in pants?
How do you give somebody with a rubber head a concussion?
I don't know. But also, put some pants on him.
We can't change the past. But we can change the future. You said you wanted your work to make a difference. This is it.
Boy, howdy did you.
This is your chance.
Sorry, ma'am. We were
Ready?
told to come in here and kill him. You could just excuse us for a minute.
It's good to see you again, son.
What happened to his actual parents?
They just don't care.
Okay. They think he's down in the garage still, probably.
I'm gonna need 10 minutes.
Oh, Cat missed his window.
Roger that, Control. Are you receiving atmospheric data?
Now we're going to meet the villain of this movie.
An hour and
Bobo.
An hour and 20 minutes in.
Yeah, and if you think that's ridiculous, so did everybody else.
Okay, cool. Where did he find? Where did he find the shawl?
Not possible.
Maybe he skinned Bobo.
I was gonna say, this is a world of primordial rock. Where did you find cloth? It's not like he could have made it out of his suit.
Well, it could have been there was something in that backpack other than just his air supply.
Ugh,
Could have been a blanket or something.
maybe.
Kept me alive. Gave me strength. Power.
What kind of power?
Unlimited!
Like you
Oh.
must never possess. You couldn't resist coming back. It's not enough to ruin your world. Now you want to ruin mine.
Victor.
That's your world now?
What you want to do when you have a decent actor like Toby Kebbell, what you want to do is put him behind a mask that doesn't allow you to see any of his features.
Right. Like, I would believe that the suit melded to his skin, but he would still have... Like, if he can move his eyeballs, then he should be able to move his jaw.
Right. And if you have an iconic character like Doctor Doom with a striking face mask, what you want to do is do that to it instead.
But for real, though, Victor Von Doom's real powers are electromagnetism, right? Something like that?
In the comics?
Yeah.
No.
Like, what are they?
He's a genius inventor like Reed Richards, and
Yes.
he's an occultist like Doctor Strange.
So
He's like a combination. You take those two characters, you meld them together, and you got Doctor Doom.
So literally nothing to do with, like, elements or
Nope.
anything I thought. Wow. What did they do?
You almost roasted your sister, man.
My bad, are you okay?
My bad.
I'm alright. Who's that?
It's a good thing you didn't singe your hair. She'd have to wear a stupid wig for the rest of the movie.
Sure.
So I guess the rock guy needs protecting with the force field, but the guy that's made out of like fire doesn't.
Nah. So now they're traveling through space. Time. Space-time.
They're traveling through lights and nonsense. That's not good.
My car!
I just paid this off.
So basically he's littering this new planet?
Victor, don't do this!
There is no victor.
Only Doom.
There's only doom.
God.
You smelled what they were cooking, honey.
Oh my god, it stinks.
Now he's determined because the music changed.
Yeah,
He needed to hear that determination music.
I was gonna say he needed the musical cues before he was gonna do anything else. Because the other musical cues.
Pull
said he was-
yourself together, Reed. There you go. Why didn't you do that 2 minutes ago?
Because the music hadn't changed yet.
Oh, I got it.
We open this door, we're gonna close it.
So what's the plan?
Oh, I don't have a plan. I just thought.
I just thought we needed a rousing speech and then magic.
That's how your dad always did it.
Huh? Huh?
Sure.
How?
Because science, honey. Science.
But
No, science.
some pants on.
All right, that is it for Fant4stic. Heidi.
Okay, so I mean, I went into this knowing it was going to be terrible, so it did not.
Now wait, did you go into it with? I know you well enough to know that you went into an open mind. If you were surprised by something being good, you would own that, right?
I would absolutely own it.
Okay, so tell me pros, cons. Let me hear it.
I feel like they went out of their way to make sure that the thing looked like the comic book thing, but the comic book thing wore pants.
Also, he's rounder.
A little bit rounder, yes. But like facial wise, I feel like they did it a bit of justice. I feel like they spent a lot of time and effort on that last scene with all the lasery things and not as much on
The lasery things, which were what? What were they?
Some black hole creator-y thing. I don't know, but they spent a lot of effort on that. I will commend them for that effort.
I will not.
It could have been better, but it looks like the majority of it was spent on like blue lasers in this. So, you know, I am not going to slam all the poor people who were forced to work under awful conditions with not enough time, money, or
A director
who knew what they were doing and were stuck with the mess that was left over. For whatever it was, whoever had the vision for this did not actually see it through. And I'm sorry for the people who were stuck trying to make it work when they were forced to, and it was like they had a date that it had to be released and all that. So I am sorry for that, because I can empathize working under that sort of condition where you got to just make it work and it stinks. That's it.
Any positives? You got any positives?
Those were my positives.
Oh, okay. I have not seen this in some time. I remembered more about it as I started watching it again. The only parts that I really think were original and worked well were those opening scenes of young Ben and young Reed and sort of understanding how long Reed's been crazy smart and how long Ben and Reed have been friends.
But
that part worked for me. However,
I don't buy it. All of this happening 7 years later.
Right.
Not like I could almost see it 20 years later. Almost.
Right. And that's one area where the comic certainly had the advantage in that, you know, Reed was already an older dude with gray in his hair when he made this experiment happen and launched them in a rocket. So yeah, you could buy that. And Ben was a pilot, military pilot. I
could buy that.
So you had that advantage. And then Sue and Johnny were younger. And, so they weren't too young, Reed and Sue were a thing, but it wasn't like, they were a little bit younger. They weren't quite as advanced as Ben and Reed. But what I was going to say, before I was so rudely interrupted, was that I enjoyed seeing the connection between Reed and Ben. However, after that opening scene, it's like that stuff is forgotten. Like I didn't buy them as friends, other than the fact that they said, well, they trusted us to see, okay, well, they've known each other X number of years. They're best friends. But there was nothing about the way they acted toward each other or what I felt from their relationship that made me buy best friends. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then the same thing with, we got the little aside about Sue being adopted or whatever. And that's fine. That's fine. There's no problem with that. I was, and I'll own this. I was on the side of things in 2015 or 2014 leading up to this, or whenever this thing was announced. I loved Michael B. Jordan. Well, I'll take that back. I liked Michael B. Jordan in Chronicle. So when I heard that Josh Trank was doing this movie and that he had cast him as Johnny Storm, I didn't care for the notion, not because it's problematic to have a black Human Torch, but because that's not Johnny Storm. And so, like, to me, yeah, if you want to have Michael B. Jordan be the Human Torch, call him something else or make Sue black or whatever. But to me, even that doesn't work because of who these characters are, and I know what they look like in the comics. So unless you're telling me that this is some alternate universe version of them,
I believe
then
it.
they need to look somewhat like they do in the comics and have at least a similar sort of background thing. And they did give him sort of the reckless rebel vibe, so I like that. But it's just, I didn't need it. I didn't have a problem with it per se. It's just, I want the first incarnation of superheroes to be what I'm familiar with. And then,
Pass the
give me
torch.
Peter Parker, then give me Miles Morales. Give me Johnny Storm. Have Johnny Storm die in the first thing and some rando guy that's there gets the power instead. And then I'm like, oh, I'm in an alternate reality where this guy's the Human Torch, and that's cool. I don't have a problem with any of that. But early on, it was like a tough thing to buy. Like, he doesn't look like what I think of as Johnny Storm. And maybe that's just a personal thing. But then when I saw it, like, he seemed like Johnny Storm fine, and it worked. But I'm still on this train, and I know this will be an unpopular opinion. I'm still on this train where they keep trying to serve me up Michael B. Jordan and stuff, and I just don't care for him. Like, I don't have a problem with his acting per se. It's just that everybody keeps putting him in front of me like he's the greatest, coolest new guy on the scene, and I just haven't seen him do anything that's that impressive yet. Everybody raved about Killmonger, and I'm just like, you're rooting for a villain. I don't like Killmonger. Why am I expected to root for this guy? I mean, he was okay as Killmonger, but I don't think he was like a revelation. And people keep talking to me about it, and so I don't care for any of the acting in this movie.
Oh.
But it's like, you give me...
Who's the guy who played Franklin Storm?
I don't know. He's a character actor who's been around for years.
He tried so hard.
He wasn't given much to work with.
He wasn't, but what he had, he tried so hard with it. He was really trying hard to, like, save every scene he was in. So props to that actor.
And that's the thing. Like, I normally am okay with Kate Mara and things. I didn't buy her as Sue Storm. I didn't. And you don't need to give me, like, old school Sue Storm who's, like, fretting about Reed spending too much time in the lab and all that. That's boring. Like, I don't need that. I like that she was smart. I like that she was a part of this. But then you give her this interesting thing for her character where she sees patterns, and it literally is only mentioned once so that we can buy her finding Reed later, which was completely unnecessary. Yeah. I didn't feel like she had anything that was her own as a character in this film. And I think all of these actors, including Michael B. Jordan, are better than the material that they were given here to work with.
For sure.
So I think you've got a mess of people that were pulled into this film.
Like a black hole.
Like a black hole. And about midway through production, just saw no way out, and were trying to do their best to come up with something that worked. And probably there were some unhappy days on set because they could tell it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I don't think, you can point the finger in any number of directions. Maybe rightly, maybe wrongly. I mean, there's so many rumors and stories about the director and about what was going on behind the scenes at Fox and on set for this film and everything else. And Josh Trank has since said that he tried to make Sue Storm black, cast a black actress in that role, and that the studio fought him on it. And I'm like, why? Why would you be okay with black Johnny Storm and black Franklin Storm and not be okay with black Sue Storm? That doesn't make sense to me. Now, I didn't need those characters to be recast, but like, if you're going to go that way with two other characters, why not go that way? That makes no sense. So I'm not sure how any of these decisions got made or what anybody was thinking.
I think somebody had blackmail and there was a lot of alcohol involved in it.
Maybe. I just think that, I think that several things happened. I'm not gonna speculate too much, but Josh Trank was really early in his directing career here. He got a lot of accolades really fast, and maybe he wasn't ready for all of that. He landed this, and he landed a Star Wars movie right around the same time. Didn't end up really finishing this one well. Didn't end up doing the Star Wars one at all. Whether that's his fault, whether it's the fault of the industry, whether it's a combination of all those things. Who can say? But the Fantastic Four as a franchise, as an IP, deserves better than this movie. I keep hoping that if the MCU brings them in, that it's going to be done well, and that we finally get the Fantastic Four movie that we deserve.
Now, I'll have to say, the other Fantastic Four movies that came out prior to this abomination, I didn't hate them. I know a lot of people
hate them. They're just kind of fluffy, silly.
Right,
things.
and that's the thing. Sometimes a fluffy, silly movie is an okay thing.
Sure.
The problem is that there was just there was too much and not enough happening in this. And so I'm not like a film critic by any means, but it's just like they were trying very hard to be so serious, but then nothing was like nothing had any substance to it. This
is a problem with a lot of the early attempts at Marvel characters in movies, because those rights were, sort of auctioned off to the highest bidder at one point. They, you ended up having Sony with Spider-Man and Fox with X-Men and Fantastic Four and some other things. And what happens is that because they don't have the rights to anything but the small circle of rogues gallery characters that are connected to that, it makes the world seem really small. What you have with something like the MCU is you have the ability to connect the dots and to make them feel a part of a bigger world, right? So that when you see Tony Stark and Doctor Strange together bickering, you're like, that makes sense. They're both full of themselves. I get it. And that, of course, Doctor Strange knows who Tony Stark is. Who in that world doesn't know who Tony Stark is?
Exactly.
Right? Of course, Ant-Man's heard of Captain America. Who hadn't heard of Captain America?
And he's a fan.
Right. So it makes them all feel like the world feels so big because you've seen all those separate adventures, but they all know of each other. They all have talked to each other. They've had things that connected them, Civil War and those things. So with the Fantastic Four, when you've only got them, to me, they work well when you have Johnny Storm's friendship with Peter Parker. That's a big part of who Peter Parker is and a big part of who Johnny Storm is. When you have Ben Grimm's connection to almost everybody in the Marvel Universe. Ben Grimm has had friendships with Nick Fury. He's had friendships with Carol Danvers. He's had friendships with Logan. He's had friendships with everybody. Like, he's connected.
That'll be really
Reed
exciting.
Richards and Tony Stark are science bros. Yeah. Just like, much more so than Stark and Banner.
Yeah.
So these characters belong together in the Marvel Universe. And so when you separate them and they can only play in their little circle, it's really hard to think of interesting things to do with them because you don't have the larger world to play with.
So you spend an hour into the movie not developing relationships properly before they even get their powers, and then it's an hour and 20 minutes when they face their
because even if you take this movie and the premise of this movie, and you have these kids come into this place to do whatever sciencey things you're trying to have them do. Because science. And you have somebody say, well, we've got to be really careful because we don't want S.H.I.E.L.D. to get wind of what we're trying to do here. Right? Or you see someone saying, well, we thought we had to deal with Stark, and then he figured out what we were trying to do, and we couldn't go with that. Or whatever. They're little throwaway things, little throwaway lines, but they make everything feel part of a bigger universe where you can buy that some shady stuff's happening because these guys are trying to keep what they're doing off the radar of S.H.I.E.L.D. and off the radar of whatever. Or you just have the bad guys behind the scenes being Hydra or AIM or any number of the bad guy organizations in the MCU, and then it makes a little bit more sense because you got more cards to play with and more things to do. But, they didn't have the ability to do that, so you got to do what you can do. And those early Fantastic Four movies did the best they could, and used, brought in Silver Surfer in the second movie of that. I like that movie better for sure.
Tell me,
but they were still very limited, is what I was trying to say.
As of this date today, July 2020, what do we know about the Fantastic Four, not Fant4stic, making it into the MCU? Do we know anything about it?
We only know that since Disney has purchased the rights in the film libraries of Fox, that they have the rights to those characters again. Now, there was some speculation when Far From Home came out that at the end of the movie, when Peter and MJ are swinging and they land, there's a sign that says 1, 2, 3, and the 4 is missing, and it says we can't wait for you to see what we do next. There is some speculation that the 4, because of the way the other numbers were designed, that the 4 might have been the Fantastic Four logo, that it was a tease. However, it was also the end of Phase 3 Spider-Man. So I think that was more what they were going for there. I think that my personal opinion, and you can disagree with me in the comments for sure.
And time will tell.
But I would think that the best way to do this, and with the X-Men, since we've already had so many incarnations and attempts so far, is to go the Hulk route with that, and like have Reed Richards, super smart Reed Richards, of whatever age you want to make him, John Krasinski,
not 17,
be a part of some other movie, just as a scientist, doing his thing. He can mention what he's working on. He can mention the thing. He can help somebody. Maybe he helps Banner do something. Maybe he helps Cap do something. Maybe he helps, Cap, Falcon, whatever, whoever, but he's there. And then we get, in another thing, maybe we see Ben Grimm doing something with S.H.I.E.L.D. or helping out, maybe pops up in the Black Widow movie. We don't know because that's already been filmed. But something, and introduce them as characters, and then give us the movie where everything happens, or start the movie after everything happens, and let us see it through the eyes of the Marvel Universe. Characters we know watching the news when the spaceship that they're on gets hit by cosmic rays, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, that's Reed. Reed was on that thing."
Yeah.
And then start their movie where we don't have to rehash them going up. We just know what happened from the newspapers and the news coverage.
That would be amazing.
And then we see the recovery and everything. You don't, just like they proved with Spider-Man, you don't have to give us the origin story over and over again.
Thank goodness.
That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see Wolverine and some of these other X-Men characters come in as characters on their own first before we get a team. But I mean, that's just me, and it's just because I don't want Marvel to risk something that feels like a rehash. And I think given what Kevin Feige's done with the MCU so far, I don't think they'll risk that.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, they'll be able to do it right and make it feel natural and organic. So I'm hoping for that.
There's a reason that after they knew they had the rights to some of these characters, they're still telling us about Eternals and Black Widow and Shang-Chi instead of telling us about Fantastic Four and X-Men. And that's because they're trying to do this in an organic way that makes sense for the universe that they've already built, because it's great that they have those characters, but they don't want to sacrifice what they already have to make it work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to go.
I think so too. So, when we did do movie reviews, we did a rating system. It's based on our name, Pop Pop Fizzle.
A fizzle speaks for itself. Don't bother. Don't waste your time. It's not worth seeing. A pop means it's worth seeing, but maybe check it out on streaming. Don't pay the big money for the theater, which is not obviously not an issue here. And then a double pop is like stop whatever you're doing and see this movie now.
Yeah.
So given that criteria, Heidi, are you going to rate this one? Is that where this is going?
I felt like we probably should, just because we always did. So I hesitate to tell anybody to watch this. I really do. But if you are a completist, or if you want to compare and contrast good and bad, this is something to kind of watch. If you are a filmmaker, you can kind of make a sort of
learn what not to do.
Right, a master class of what went wrong. That's actually this is a great movie for that.
You could play a drinking game based on how many times you see a wig instead of actual hair.
You could do that as well, such as with Samurai Cop.
Mm-hmm.
However, this is still not the worst movie I've ever seen.
No.
So, I mean, if you can suspend disbelief.
It's the worst Fantastic Four movie I've seen.
Yes. If you can suspend disbelief and you just want to have, an hour and 25 minutes filled up, this is not, if it's something that's on an airplane, it's not the worst thing to watch.
You might need to do more than suspend your disbelief. You may need to wrestle your disbelief to the ground and get a good headlock on it and snuff its oxygen out enough to put it into some sort of coma.
Yeah. But, I mean, so this is something that could be
streaming on Disney Plus right now, by the way.
Yeah.
This is available to you. And if you're watching us on Patreon, because you synced up to your own copy of the movie, or you synced it up to Disney Plus to listen to us talk about it.
Yep. If you're on a long flight and this is one of the options, it's not a terrible option. So I would give it like half a pop. Can we do I do pop and a half all the time. I'll give this half a pop.
Is it just like a pea?
I was going to say a fizzle plus.
Okay.
It's hard to give it something to say definitely watch this.
I'm trying to think of something that I wouldn't rather watch on a plane.
Well, there was one time where I had watched everything that had already been out, and the only thing I had left was Made in Manhattan.
I'm trying to think of something that I wouldn't rather watch twice than to watch this again.
You watched it twice.
I know. For laughs.
Yeah,
to put you through it.
Thanks. Marriage.
This
everyone.
is if there's something between a fizzle and a pop, like you said, maybe a wet fart or something.
A wet fizzle.
It's
a fizzle plus.
It's a
half a pop.
There's so much potential wasted that it almost angers me. But that's happened before, and like I said, we don't really know the story here. I'm still going to give it a fizzle because I really don't find too much redeeming about this. But that's just me. Mileage may vary.
Yeah, so fizzle and a fizzle plus.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for us. If you want to see, I don't know why you would, but if you want to see the full length reaction to this movie and watch along with us, you can find that on Patreon for $5. You'll get access to that and everything else that we've reacted to, all the TV shows and things that we're doing. And if you like this kind of content, be sure and hit the thumbs up so that we know you like it and we can do more of these, including some really bad movies and hopefully some good ones too.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for us. Until next time, folks.
Bye.
Bye.